Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. This week I'm joined by Lou Mosca, who runs American Management Services, a consulting firm based in Orlando. Some of you may recall that Lou was a frequent and terrific guest on my old Sirius radio show, Mind Your Business. Welcome, Lou.
How you doing, Loren? It's been a long time.
It's been way too long. I'm doing great. It's great to be back with you. For those listening who weren't able to join us on Sirius, Lou, tell us a little bit about American Management Services. What do you guys do?
Absolutely happy to do it. So American Management Services is a consulting firm. We're based in Orlando, Florida. We have employees all around the country, and our focus is almost exclusively to try to help independent business owners improve what they've got, whether that's gross sales, whether that's improved profitability, whether that's deal with succession issues, transitional issues, whatever an independent business owner might need to help make his or her life better. That's where we try to step in and help folks.
Okay, I know this is an impossible question, but can you in any way generalize about what it's been like for your clients the last couple of years? What have you observed during this crazy period we've been through?
Yeah, I will tell you that when the pandemic hit back in March, April 2020, none of the clients we were working with were prepared. And when I say prepared, I mean none of them had like a DEFCON 5 plan to get through this. So, we've had clients. Fortunately, thank you God, we had no client die during the pandemic, but we've had clients that definitely had topsy-turvy times, and we had to help them in many different areas to make sure that they could continue, or that they would move forward through the pandemic. And every time we think we're starting to move forward through the pandemic and things might see a little bit of sunshine, it seems to get pushed backwards a little bit, as you might imagine.
Yeah, I've seen that a little bit. Has it changed your thinking? I mean, the fact that nobody was prepared with that kind of break glass in an emergency plan, are you giving different advice now looking forward beyond this pandemic to, be better prepared next time something hits?
We've always been firm believers that every business should have quote unquote business plan. And that sounds a little cliche-ish, but we've always believed every business should have a business plan, and it should be part of the fabric and DNA of how the folks in that organization operate and conduct themselves. But, when crisis hits, no matter what, unless you're these big companies that can, float bonds or, sell more stock to the public, if you're a typical 3, 4, 5, 10, $20 million independent business owner, you don't have access to liquidity that others might have. You need to have a different type of strategy. So our advice before the pandemic and during the pandemic, and will always be afterwards, is to make sure your balance sheet is as strong as humanly possible, and make sure that everybody in your organization knows the direction that we're trying to go in good times and bad times, Loren.
Got it. All right. There are a few topics I've been really looking forward to running by you. Number one, the Wall Street Journal ran a piece about this last week. Starting in May, New York City is going to join several states in requiring businesses to disclose a salary range with every job opening they post. New York's a big place. There are a lot of jobs that get posted there. And I think there's some expectation that this could have a big impact around the country, well beyond New York City. The goal here obviously is, addressing equity issues in salary, but it's something that I think a lot of businesses are going to have to think about. Any thoughts on this?
I actually, you've asked me some tough stuff in the past, but here's what I know you do. Here's what I'll share with you. I think businesses can't be transparent enough. And I think that this seems to be a market that we're all in lately, where employees have the edge. They just seem to have the edge over employers, that for an employer to want to make it a quid pro quo and be totally upfront about what you're doing, I think that's only a good launching point for an employee to be considering you to join and be part of your team. So I actually think it's It's actually pretty positive to me.
Would you recommend that a business that is not yet affected by a law like this go ahead and be transparent to begin with? I mean, even so far as sharing the salaries of current employees?
Well, you remember we chatted years ago about you had some folks you were working with where they were showing all of their financial results to all of their employees.
Open book management, yes.
Right. And I was never able to get my head around that. And to this day, I'm still not able to get my head around it. But the
you
world,
and a lot of other people.
I would imagine. The world has changed so much in the last 24 months, Loren, that I think that, the federal government has people on ranges or grades or, you're an E1 or you're whatever. And they know that if you fall in that black, white, male, female, whatever you are, your pay range is going to be X. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that and disclosing where people are at right now when you have when you have people competing for jobs. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Interesting. Times do change, don't they?
Yeah, sometimes it still hurts, but they do.
Next topic. We recently got GDP numbers for the fourth quarter of 2021, and the economy grew at a surprisingly fast 6.9% annual rate, fastest in decades. I think that surprised a lot of people. A lot of people don't feel like we're in such a great economy. It seems to be almost a real... it's a mix. People don't know what to think. You're not an economist. I'm not an economist, and I don't want to try to get out of our lane, but I'm curious what you're seeing with your clients. Are they planning on growth? Are they thinking that this is a strong economy? How are they looking at it?
Well, I'll tell you that I read the same thing you do, and I saw, the economy expanded by X. I just think that there's still a lot of right sizing from the last 18, 24 months. So, I always think about the growth started from a foundation of what? So 6%, 5%, 6.9% in the fourth quarter. That's all well and good. But I also think where you started matters, and I think who you are matters. So when you talk about growth for big companies like Pfizer, and they tacked on $30 billion last year just by selling, their Pfizer COVID drug. What was the impact on the economy just on that? When you compare that to, the companies I deal with that are doing 3 million, 4 million, 8 million, 12 million, I see folks, and we have folks that are doing extraordinarily well, expanding, trying to grow, have taken advantage of other people's weaknesses. And then we have plenty of folks that are in significant degrees of distress, that no matter what, that they just are going to struggle to come through this because their balance sheet was so weak. It's kind of tough to outrun your problems sometimes.
Sure. How do you advise a client if a client's trying to decide whether to invest in the business and bet on growth? How do you advise them to look at the combination of both their own results of their own business, but in the context of the economy? Which is more important, if one is more important?
Let me see if I can answer it this way. I was dealing with a business owner about 3 days ago. And it's not a huge business. He does about $2 million. And he wanted to open a second location to do exactly what he's doing now. And we talked about staffing it, the incremental fixed costs, the overhead, and the opportunities in the existing facility he's got that he has not maximized. And I said, if you're going to listen to me for what you're paying me, I wouldn't do it. Well, I might lose an opportunity. Well, you might, but you haven't maximized the opportunity that you have today. And right now, you have no debt and the opportunity to expand your business where you're at by about 50%. Why would you take on all that other overhead? So I'm very sort of anti rent more, buy more, tie up more capital until you've maximized your ROI and what you can do with what you've got.
That's what I always loved about talking with you, Lou. You always brought great anecdotal examples that I think mean more than the generalities that you often hear. I guess what I take away from your answer is that you were much more focused on the situation of the individual business than thinking about the economy as a whole. Am I right about that?
It's interesting because I saw on Squawk Box a few weeks ago, some guy got on and he said, people don't worry about inflation. They worry about, do they have enough money to buy groceries? They don't say, it's because of inflation I can't pay it. They say, what's in my pocket? What did I get paid? So when I think about it from an individual business owner's perspective, is your balance sheet strong enough for you to take a risk in semi-uncharted territory? And if the answer to that is anything other than a resounding yes, don't do it. Now, I know business owners are risk takers by nature, Loren. That's how they got to be where they're at. They started, they had a dream, they did something. Even the owner of my company started with $42,000 and a car with a car door that he couldn't get in and out of. It's a long time ago, but he had a dream and he was going to go after it. And that's what he did. So I get it. Independent business owners are risk takers. But boy, oh boy, if the Fed starts raising rates like everyone predicts, that cost of money is going to keep going up. Do you really want to saddle yourself with overhead on something that's not a sure bet? I don't know. I'd be a little hesitant.
Fair enough. All right. Next topic. Back to the labor shortage situation, the Great Resignation. Last week, Fortune reported on a survey of American employees that found almost 60% of them have a resignation letter already written, ready to file. Now, this was a survey of 2,000 office workers. I don't think it in any way suggests that more than half of the workers in America have a resignation letter already written. But it does kind of suggest that the Great Resignation may not be over yet. Any thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I don't know if that article was in Fortune, but I know it was in the Morning Report.
Thank you, Lou.
You're welcome, Loren. So, when I read that article in the Morning Report, it went through my mind that it's almost offensive that so many folks would have a resignation letter already drafted and sitting in their drawer. It really was disturbing to me. On the flip side, I don't know who the poll was. I think it was 2,000
Yes.
people. I don't know if they were polled from Fortune companies, Fortune 1,000 companies, independent companies. I don't know where they were polled from.
I think it leaned corporate.
So I thought that was true also. But I would bet you if there was a similar poll of independent business owners and their employees, guys doing, $5, $6, $7 million bucks or less, I would bet you more of those employees are loyal to the environment that they're in because they have a relationship with that owner. On the flip side, I think it's ownership's responsibility to create an environment where employees don't even want to consider being anywhere else. And in today's day and age, that revolves flexibility, listening, and creating opportunities, which aren't always easy in today's day and age, Loren.
Have you seen a real difference in the way your clients are approaching this issue? There's no question. I don't know about your clients, but a lot of business owners have discovered that what used to work doesn't work anymore. And it's not just about what they pay. There are a lot of things that employees are looking for and are able to demand now that they couldn't just a year or two ago. What are you seeing from your clients on this front?
I think it's sort of insanity. We've had clients that a key person just walks in and says, next Friday's my last day, out of absolute nowhere. And in part, it's because their family's frightened over the pandemic. In part, it's because other people have left and started calling them. In part, it's because they just don't know what next month and next year is going to be. In part, it's because some of them got sick and they're worried about their own health and their own future. So we've seen people walk out, and what we try to do is we don't want you to throw money at people to stay. We want you to create an environment where they want to stay. And that's a little bit of a cultural phenomena for...
It's hard to change that on a dime.
Well, it's totally hard to change it on a dime. And if you weren't working about it 10 years ago, we're not going to put it in effect next month. To change a culture takes time to do so. And I'll give you an example. And this is one thing we find that every client across the board, no matter what state we're in, they all moan and complain that they can't find talent, they can't hire, they can't find quality people. And almost none of them to an owner has a full-time dedicated recruiting effort. What they do is what they used to do. They put a posting up on Career Builders or Monster or Hot Jobs, whatever these things are out there. I don't know what they are. And they just hope people come in. And we learned the hard way years ago that doesn't work anymore. And that we learned that before the pandemic. Well, during the pandemic, it's even 10 times worse. So when I ask an owner, how many people do you have dedicated strictly to recruiting? And they look at you sideways. And how many people go to job fairs? And how many people are going to the trade schools and the high schools? And how many people are going to the veterans outplacement facilities? And how many people are going to? And they just go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Well, oh my God's not going to help you. You have to help you. And that means you have to change how you do things. And a lot of them don't want to.
You said that you figured this out at American Management Services before the pandemic. What did you try that was effective for you to find the employees you were looking for?
I will tell you that if you did a rewind and went back to 5 or 6 years ago, if we posted a job in the Orlando Sentinel, we would get 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people in our lobby on a Monday morning. If we posted it on a weekend for any position, our lobby was bedlam every Monday morning. And as that changed over time and we started advertising more on, digital more on the internet, it got a little tighter. So we expanded how we do things. And we've gone to veterans groups and we've gone to, book club meetings and we've gone to
book club meetings. I haven't heard that one before.
Well, we'll go to anything where there's adults or anything where there's going to be potential adults and talk to them. Because in my world, one person can be so instrumental, he or she can generate millions of dollars a year for us.
Is it a book? Are they talking about a book that involves running a business, or any book club will do?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You get retirees that want to work 4 hours a day or every other day or something, and things we wouldn't consider doing 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. There's nothing off the table today.
That's really interesting.
Has to be that way, or everybody's going to leave you in the dust.
What do you think changed? You said that you used to just be able to put an ad in the Orlando Sentinel and there'd be bedlam in your lobby. What happened that changed that initially?
I think that to some degree, Loren, you get you as the employer get a little stale in your marketplace. So, we moved to Orlando. We moved the company from right outside of Boston to Orlando in part in 2002, and then probably completely by 2005 or 6, something like that. And, so we were sort of like new guys in Orlando for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So whatever we posted, people didn't know us. Orlando is sort of like the number 2 or 3 capital for timeshare in the world. So, we were the new guy on the block. It wasn't like you going to work in timeshare. And over time, you're just not so new anymore. So we had to find new ways to communicate with people. And trust me, it's not easy. We went from getting 3,000 or 4,000 applicants a week down to 2,000 applicants a week. But we didn't go to 20. But we work at it a lot harder than we used to.
Interesting. Well, Lou, just as in the old days, I could talk to you all day, but unfortunately, we are out of time. I really appreciate your taking this time to talk this stuff through with me.
Listen, I've always respected and admired what you do, whether it was back in the old magazine days to what you're doing today, which I love, and I encourage all my folks to sign on and read your 21 Hats report every morning. I think it is a great quick synopsis, and you remember where to mail me my check, right?
You earned it today, Lou. Thank you so much for that. Lou Mosca is COO of American Management Services. Thank you, Lou, and have a great week, everyone.
You be well, my friend.
You too.